Alright, so we rented the wood chipper here, and we're going to be running through most of what we could. Some of it was so rotten and waterlogged and kind of nasty, we didn't want to run it through the wood chipper because I was concerned that it was just too wet to clog it up. I didn't want to clog up the knives and have to cause myself some maintenance, to have to stop halfway through and that sort of thing. But we rented the wood chipper, and we were running a lot of the brush and the tops of the trees and the things that we could. This was a 8-inch wood chipper, so if it was a soft 8-inch pine, it would handle it. But on some of the hardwood, we had to back it out and had some issues here. So this is the first time my son and my wife both have run a wood chipper and worked with a wood chipper, so they were a little bit nervous. Of course, I scared them half to death with my safety speech and telling them they needed to hold the handrail right there. My son sitting there grabbing the safety so that he can reverse it if need be. Obviously, I've done enough that I'm not really worried about holding the bar so I could reverse it if I got hung up or anything. But better safe than sorry. It's always better to err on the side of safety, but this is not something we generally do. We're not tree folks. We're not tree service, and so we don't do a lot of stuff like this, but we were actually getting into doing more of this. We don't have a mulching head or anything, so this saved us probably 8 loads of brush and debris taken to the landfill, and so that saved us quite a bit of time and energy to do that. And so I tried to do the best I could. A lot of this stuff was things we couldn't feed through there, so I'm trying to separate it out with an excavator and give them a usable stack to have. And one thing that I noticed that I've watched other videos of guys with excavators, and they have the grapple that rotates for doing tree work and stuff like that, and I can definitely see the benefit in having that. It was so difficult to try to make it happen with just a 12-inch bucket and a thumb to try to get some of these logs to feed through. And we were really struggling for me to get an angle that would be good that I could feed this stuff through, and not cause any issues with grabbing it with the thumb. And so it took a little bit of figuring out where I needed to position myself and how I could do, but the best thing to do was to curl the bucket. Don't grab it with the thumb like that, but curl the bucket and just let it sit on top of the bucket and kind of feed it in, and then maybe have them guide it so that it would catch the roller and feed on it. But it was a little bit of a learning experience at the beginning, but I could definitely see where I would have loved to have one of those rotating grapples today, because that would have made it so much easier to feed the chipper with the excavator and not try to do it by hand, and try to do it at a weird angle on the excavator with a bucket. So you'll see what I'm doing a lot. I'm just sitting here trying to go through and pick through the pile and give them stuff to work with that they can feed through the chipper, and we can just kind of work our way through the brush. And then every now and then you'll see me pick out an old rotten log or a root ball or something where we had a tree that we dug up that had a root ball to it that we couldn't feed through it, and I'll just stack that over in another pile. So we're kind of making a separate pile that's going to have to be hauled off, and then whatever we could run through the chipper, we did. And yeah, it's a rental, but guys, when you rent equipment, treat it like it's your own, because I get so tired of renting equipment sometimes, and some yahoo didn't treat it like it was their own, and they abused it, and then, you know, it doesn't work as well as it could. So you'll see several times my son will come up and ask me, you know, can I feed this through? Can we do that? And that's, as we got going and he got more comfortable with it, he was fine, and everything went pretty smooth, and we were able to process a whole lot more than I thought we would today. So we got a little bit more to do on this job. I'll have some follow-up video before we're done. Customer asked for a couple more trees to be taken down than what we had quoted, but you know, I'm out there. You know, we gave him a good price, but he's a good customer, and we're gonna, you know, make sure that we take care of it. Just take down a couple more trees, and I don't think it's going to cost us any more loads to haul out or anything, any more expense. So, you know, we just took care of the customer. So I'll shut up and let you guys just listen to what's going on. that's the bulk of where we were running the chipper today. That's what we have right there. It is the, what is it? The Moorbark Beaver M8D. So that sucker is a freaking beast. So we went through that whole stack right there. Didn't run the vines through it. The vines will clog up the chipper. We ran what we could through it, and then I'm staging the stuff we couldn't run through it. And there was that big tree that was there yesterday, or I think it was Friday, or no, Saturday. No, Friday. That'd have been Thursday. Friday was raining. That was one of the days last week when we posted the other. Cut that out, hauled it out of here, picked up the yard as best we could. You can see, took the gigantic pine out today. I should have measured it off, see how high it was, how tall it was, but I had to land it right in between that big tree and his porch. So right there, you can see where the top landed. And as much wind was blowing today, I was really freaking out a little bit that it was going to get blown a little bit over. I left a thicker hinge on that side so that it would hold, and it was a pretty good size hinge all the way across, and it came down really slow until, you know, the last little bit before it hit the ground. But I gotta buck that tomorrow. That's what I'm staging up, the logs that we can't run through the chipper. Some of the stuff over there, some viney stuff, some root balls and stuff that we can't get rid of. And then you can see over here, that's where we shredded up a lot of that stuff. Took down 3 trees over there. One of the pines, he asked me, he's got another pine tree right there. It goes up. And he wants that down, so I gotta lay that across where the garage would be and then cut them off at the stump. I'm not gonna dig the root balls out on those because there's nothing going over here. He just wanted the pine trees out of here because he didn't want to risk, he was fine leaving the hardwoods, but he didn't want to risk the root balls coming up on those pine trees. They come down so easy in a windstorm. So we'll have to get out here, and I got to re-slick everything up, make sure we've got all the trash off of that, and slick it up again so water will continue to run off of it, so that the concrete guys can get started. And I got a brush cutter for those SV40, and I'm going to use a brush cutter and just kind of mulch that stuff up, take out a little bit of that stuff and clean up that vine a little bit. I can chop it up some so it's not a vine just sticking up everywhere. But that was a task today, and it was 70 degrees. Our bipolar weather in North Carolina, 70 degrees, and but yeah, there's the stump down there, and not the best cut I've done, so I'm thankful it went well. And I needed one more wedge, and I was out of wedges, and I needed one more wedge to help really lay it down. But it finally took off. I was nervous it wasn't gonna go when I wanted it to, and there was no way I could leave it there. So I was getting ready to have to come up with plan B on how to get that thing to go ahead and top on over. But everything went well. Got a lot cleaned up, a lot done today. So gotta clean this thing off, and hopefully the ride home will get the dust off of it. But I'm gonna take all this and just kind of spread it out back here in the mud and muck where we were tracking. And then who knows, maybe this will become some grass and usable yard for them. So, all right, well, that's it. Have a good one.